Podcasting since 2005. This is the King of Podcasts radio network, kingofpodcasts.com.
Tonight's podcast is brought to you by the letter C. Use it in a word means counterprogramming.
Woo! Hey, this is the Nature Boy Rick Flair. And believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
The worldwide leader of podcasting excellence. The King of Podcasts radio network proudly presents The Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
I honestly believe that WWE just needs to go ahead and heal the wound they put on their foot. They shot themselves in the foot counter-programming AEW. And I am not going to talk about the fact of if it's going to do anything to AEW at all. We don't need to talk about that part. What we need to make a point of is that the idea that you want to go ahead and start off your deal with ESPN, rushing a pay-per-view up to no real fanfare, to a little bit of hype that you created off of no storylines, no real tangible created storylines, nothing scripted. Whose line it is it anyway? Type improv on the promos and match. And you thought this was a good idea on how to start your relationship with ESPN. Because there's a number of things that backfired this weekend. Now, of course, everyone wants to talk about Andreas Hale and his article in ESPN, grading WrestlePalooza. I will talk about that shortly. But what people are not talking about is what I said last week on the program. So let's not talk about the ratings. Let's not talk about the buy rates, all that stuff, right? Disco Inferno always says, oh, it doesn't matter about that. What about social media? Okay. We can talk about that. So on X, that's a pretty good place to go and find out real-time analytics and impressions on what people are actually talking about or watching on Saturday, this past Saturday night. You want to guess how many impressions college football had versus WrestlePalooza? I'll give you a minute to guess. So if you had to go and guess how many impressions you got from WrestlePalooza, 400,000. Mostly from hardcore fans. No mainstream. Nothing mainstream picked up on it. College football, 25 million impressions on Saturday. 25 million impressions. And what actually happened was ESPN and WWE pissed off their respective audiences as a result of this. So, from Pro Football Network reports on this, the confluence of sports and sports entertainment has been a hot topic. So, WWE promos have been going on ESPN broadcasts of the traditional sports fans have noticed. During ESPN's college football coverage, there have been numerous promos and teasers for WrestlePalooza, with some fans and commentators wondering if they're going overboard or reaching saturation. Now, as we talked about, for a while now, ESPN has this 5-year deal with the WWE, with this first big event part of a crossover with WrestlePalooza. 7 o'clock start time. For those that could watch it on ESPN's live stream on its new direct-to-consumer app, consumers who could subscribe to the ESPN Unlimited plan, either directly or as a pay TV subscriber, can access it. Well, I talked about that part. On Wednesday, people were going to get a little confused about what was going to be able to be watched, because people were going to complain about a couple things of this broadcast. Number one, if they could get it, you have to have an ESPN Unlimited plan, $30 a month. You have to automatically have that. It's a big ask from those that you were paying, $8 to $11, maybe $13 a month for Peacock. Now, those prices have just gone jacked right up. That's a big ask. And how many of those fans are WWE fans that are actually buying ESPN and their app? So college football fans have been vocal about the heavy cross-promotional tie-ins with partnerships like this. WrestlePalooza promos splashing across ESPN's college football games all day. Listen, same thing that Fox did for WWE with SmackDown. You saw SmackDown promos all over the place on football. NFL games. Not ESPN here with this. They probably put it on Monday Night Football, but I'm talking about college football, pro football. Fox always pushed WWE to the moon. And then where we are here, right? I mean, there was one fan that had a unique comparison posting saying that all these WWE promos give me Aaron Judge at bat cut-in vibes. Another person says that don't like that WrestlePalooza is being crammed down our throats during game day and SEC Nation broadcasts. Keep the main thing. These are college football shows. Let's keep it that way. We only have 4 or 5 months of college football. They can absorb airtime the other 7 months of the year. These are the sports people out there not liking this. One wrestling fan comes out and says, as much as a fan I am of pro wrestling, it feels really strange seeing WWE get the live ESPN coverage, countdown treatment during college football broadcasts. Yeah. It doesn't make sense. There's been nothing that really kind of gives the blend in. Hey, man, TKO doesn't really care about where they're getting the coverage from. ESPN and WWE, I guess they'll figure it out. The deal got done. They don't care. The check's in the mail. They don't care. Another person writing, hey, ESPN, it's college football Saturday. Nobody gives a crap about your WWE wrestling BS. So you're pissing off sports fans. Another person, count me in the official hate category of a WWE promo every commercial break and during games of a college football Saturday. Because the problem is, ESPN, when they do their coverage, you know, they have their own promos of stuff they're going to run if you're watching it on streaming, as opposed to when you're watching on cable. So if you're watching it like you used to watch ESPN Plus, like I would watch, you would get their promos. So that means they would get blasted with WrestlePalooza promos because ESPN's running it all the time. John Cena promoting the app all the time. But ESPN's going to continue this. As quoted by SVG News, ESPN's John Lasker, who was on the conference call last week, he's the Senior Vice President of Direct-to-Consumer at ESPN, said, fans are going to be sitting there on Saturday night and watching WrestlePalooza and Miami versus Florida at the same time and can sort of super in and super out as they wish. I mean, they're not making a difference about the fact that you think there's this devoted fan base that's going to be watching WWE. Now, here's what John Lasker goes on to say, that our hope is that it's going to drive more interest and engagement in the WWE and vice versa, and that WWE fans are going to get to us to experience and become fans of the other sports content that we're able to present to them. Cross promotion for sports and professional wrestling or sports entertainment. The problem is a good chunk of that audience is not into sports. They're into professional wrestling. Some of them are more into combat sports, so that kind of ties in. And some are just sports fans that were fans before. But, I mean, look, I'll give you this as an example. I got about 12 other football fans I watch football with on Sundays for NFL. We go to our local Twin Peaks. And if I bring up wrestling, there's 2 or 3 guys that know who I'm talking about. There's one guy who is an avid WWE and AEW fan. Another one who is more or less a WWE fan of before, Attitude Era, Rock and Wrestling Era, NWA, World Class, all the other wrestling promotions back in the day. 80s, 90s fan, okay? And that's it. Some of the other fans will all know if I bring up a couple names. If I bring up Roman Reigns of The Rock, they'll know who it is. If I bring up Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, LA Knight, who? There is no mainstream crowd for this. The fact they brought back Brock Lesnar, and it got nothing out of that. And John Cena working with each other on a match didn't work out well either. And as for the ratings for college football, we don't know what we got for in terms of the viewership on ESPN Plus or ESPN Unlimited in general. But of the cable lineup, what the Nielsen ratings say, there were at least good 20 million viewers watching college football live on Saturday night during WrestlePalooza. The Miami, Florida game, 6.46 million viewers on ESPN. Actually, well, it's ABC. Auburn, Oklahoma, 6.12 million. And as I mentioned before, what happened with the Indiana-Illinois game, 2.7 million viewers, but they probably dropped out pretty quick when Illinois got blasted. So, all I want is for WWE to just give me good programming. The initial reason for this program from the onset has always been that this company does well, that they are the beacon of professional wrestling that is the mainstream of professional wrestling, which draws attention to every other wrestling outlet there is. Are they really doing a service right now the way they're operating? When they have the best broadcast deals they've ever had in their life. Okay, let's give the credit where credit is due. Vince McMahon never got the broadcast deals that TKO Group Holdings gets. That's TKO Group Holdings. That has nothing to do with Triple H. That is Nick Khan. That's Ari Emanuel, Mark Shapiro. That's that team. They are the ones that broker the deals. That is the mind. That's the brain trust of TKO Group Holdings that is operating WWE for the shareholders. The content management, the content creators, the people that are in charge of the day-to-day product, they're doing an inferior job of it because they want to go with improvisational promos. No scripting, just let it go on the fly. And match. It's a different story, and it's as simple as this. The logic says people will care about the matches if it is not a predetermined outcome, if the matches are not predetermined finishes. But we already know what the onus is on that. This is not based on real competition. They're still basing it on the stars they have out there and who they decide to have go over. That's it. With no rhyme or reason, really. Some of it we have based on previous storylines of the previous regime. What Vince started off with, that Triple H just decided to go ahead and carry along with the help of a couple other names in there trying to go ahead and do something with this. Paul Heyman's for one. But there is no direction whatsoever. And what is the fan base doing now? The juvenile, delusional, loyal fandom right now. They're pissed. All I saw this weekend was outrage across the board. Leading up to WrestlePalooza, we had Triple H doing the pregame saying this.
Have these talent. There isn't a day goes by that I don't get a text or a voicemail from somebody saying, I either want to come home or I've never been there. Is there an opportunity for me there? I'm overseas right now. I have this time left on my deal. Hey, I would love to explore WWE and come into the Performance Center, NXT, whatever that is. The opportunity right now where we sit, opportunities like Netflix, like the CW, like USA, like ESPN especially, open that door for talent to say, man, I'm in this place in my life, but I either want to go back to the top of the mountain or I want to be on the top of the mountain.
I mean, that's what the perception has been always. But Triple H, I mean, to be honest, you're not giving the top of the mountain right now. What you have isn't there. Now, let's talk about what was leading before WrestlePalooza and where everybody was at. First of all, there was questions being asked in the post-media scrum for AEW All Out. And Adam Page was asked about the response to the counter-programming.
You know, that's a great question. And because I think that the assumption would be it's what we're talking about, it's what we're worried about. But the truth, the honest truth is that it's not remotely. You know, it's something that we see coming. When it does happen, it's like, okay, yeah, I figured. And it's not something we're thinking. We're so focused on what we do here. You know, we've got how many people here today? 10, 12?
Over 13,000.
Over 13,000 people in the building today who came to see us. We've got, God knows, 100, 200, 300. I don't know how many people buy pay-per-view. I don't know this stuff. all those people buy those pay-per-views. They're here to watch us. That's what we're focused on. And I know that might not be like what you would assume is happening and what the talk is, but that's like the honest truth.
And the thing is, it's just a different world. For AEW, it doesn't make a difference what WWE is trying to do, because they're the ones that are instigating this counter-programming. AEW has not tried to play into it. And of course, there's people out there that can try to say that, Tony Khan might have played into a little bit because of what was allowed on AEW right away. Cody and the Throne, or Tony Khan saying the real con man, all those kind of things. But really, if that's all you're going to say is enough ammunition to create this vitriol for the product, remember that some of the fan base out there, they're gaslighting AEW fans for their love of the product because of the fact that their product is not doing as well. And they could try to put a nice, happy face around all of it, but it's not. Someone else putting out online here saying, quote, only prediction I'm making today is that AEW exposes WWE. He writes, All Out has 13 matches versus WrestlePalooza's 5 matches. It costs $3.08 per match to watch AEW All Out, $6 a match to watch WWE. You had 30-minute matches versus 30-minute entrances. Professional wrestling versus sports entertainment. Another person writes, this is what Fed Boys love. This is what turns them on. Effing ads. During the John Cena Brock Lesnar match, the actual match time, 8 minutes. Commercial ad break time, 15 minutes. You actually had ads during WrestlePalooza. I brought that up already in the program, and I'm saying to myself, you all really feel good about what they came out with on all this. I'm like, damn. Let me just play back what I put up on the ads part that I said on TikTok, and I put on my TikTok feed a highlight from my post show on Sunday night. So hope they appreciate that they got the Netflix type deal where you're paying $30 to watch on ESPN and you're consumed with how many ads out there? Ads during the program? If you're paying $30 a month, why are you getting so many ads? Not just promos, but you're getting actual ads here, even on a $30 a month buy. But then you see the mat, and I was completely distracted the whole night by that stupid mat. It's one thing how they do it in boxing, where you kind of have everything set up, okay, on the ring ropes and, on the turnbuckles, things like that, great. But all that crap on the mat like they have it. Papa John's, Chime, Riyadh Season, Fireball Whiskey, Xfinity, Slim Jim, Old Spice, Minute Maid, Aviator, Cricket 5G, V-Better. Really? It's a lot. Comments on the TikTok feed about it. One from Tropical says they need to get rid of the ads because people are actually paying a monthly membership. I understand WWE wants the money from these sponsors, but you can't have it both ways. You can't either honor the ESPN contract with membership or continue with sponsors, but you can't be an ESPN. You can't. They're doing what the Netflix deal is. I'm actually kind of surprised where ESPN thought it was okay to include the ads as they do now on this program, but I guess maybe that was what ESPN required them to do, is that the deal had to come with advertising. Same way Fox got advertising as part of their plan. Same thing with Netflix. If you're going to be in ESPN, the mats need to stay ESPN, nothing else. Well, I mean, you want to put stuff on there, it's fine, whatever. And then King Medinoff says that getting mediocre wrestlers, you're not getting a Sting, DDP, Lex Luger, Hogan, Macho Man, Randy Savage. You're getting secondhand wrestlers that want to control their character, and half of the stadiums the AEW puts out there are empty. They're completely empty. That's what he says. Now, as for the comments that came up on my YouTube feed, I only got a couple of them. One from Robert Decker. They need more fans access. Very angry with ESPN. WWE isn't even a sport. And then Gannibal writes, All Out rules. It's not even close, fanboys. And that's it. I see another person on X that came up during the coverage of WrestlePalooza. This was absolutely garbage. one of the larger loyal fans, podcasters in the base, says, quote, "Can't believe WWE wasted one of John Cena's last matches on that. What the F did you expect? Did you expect anything else? The best they could have done is give you the John Cena struggle and him getting destroyed. He doesn't make it another date until Crown Jewel. He'll get his win back there. Then he'll enter War Games and align the Avengers to take down Seth Rollins in the Division. If you're disappointed, it's because you caused it yourself." I don't even know what that all means. I guess what he's trying to say, that he thinks we're going to create some Marvel universe with some super team that's going to take down Seth Rollins in the Division. That's 3 people there. Anyways. Because now we're fantasy booking Survivor Series. That's all we got left. Now let's move along into the infamous article, the reviews from ESPN about said pay-per-view. So Andreas Hale makes all his remarks about what's happening here. And off the bat, talks about the singles match with John Cena and Brock Lesnar to start off the night. But here's what he says about the moments of everything that was going on in terms of the whole card. He loved the Women's World title, Io Sky versus Stephanie Vaquer. I agree with him. Gave the match a B+. He also wrote this down as a sports critic. So he's not going to take into account storylines or anything else. He's only grading the match quality. Says it was exceptional work from 2 of the best women's wrestlers in WWE. The Usos in the Division. Says the first half of the match was sluggish. Focus primarily was on what Liberty's LA Knight, special guest referee, extending to both teams. A slow early pace appeared to be heading towards a strong finish before Jey Uso got busted open, leading to a disjointed finishing stretch. Wasn't a bad match, but the Usos have certainly had better outings. I mean, listen, the way the match ended was not right. So, yeah, it could have been much better. But also, you know, that's just up with the match quality. And people are complaining about that. The mixed tag team match, he refers to AJ Lee, CM Punk versus Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins. Mixed tag team matches are incredibly difficult to from a pure wrestling standpoint, more about entertainment than anything else. We had everything from stereo finisher attempts to Lynch and Punk exchanging sharpshooters. The match's nearly 30-minute run was a bit too long. It was great to see AJ Lee back in action. Punk and Rollins did what they had to do to keep things chugging along. And looks like Lee's going to be challenging Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental title. Yeah. And listen, yeah, there's some orchestration to what the match was. It was completely choreographed. We can say that part for sure. This match with AJ Lee was choreographed. Pretty obvious. And AJ Lee, I didn't mention during the post show, but yeah, swinging back at Becky Lynch at a couple points was awful. Awful. And so obvious. Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre, surprisingly short main event in just over 15 minutes. Didn't have time to get out of first gear. Agreed. Felt more like a main event of SmackDown than the headliner of a PLE. He's absolutely right. 15 minutes for the world title. Or this was not a world title match. Just a match. Well, no, it was a world title match. Universal title match. Nothing. So they should have switched the match card. I mean, listen. You know, if you're going to go and do anything with this, you know, don't put John Cena and Brock Lesnar at the beginning. That was a bad start in the beginning, first of all. Put Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre to start off the night. If you're going to do something, yeah, I mean, I'm so common here and see sometimes they see world title matches at the beginning if you want to do that. Like, why not? John Cena and Brock Lesnar, it's not an opener. I would have absolutely thought Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes could have absolutely opened. Then you got John Cena, Brock Lesnar, 8 minutes in the match. Or 9-minute match, rather, actually. 6 moves, and pretty much what you expect out of Lesnar. And John Cena just taking F5s like crazy. And how much did that crowd really enjoy seeing John Cena continuously hit with F5s? Well, let's go back to that.
Through yet. Cena can't protect himself. Another F5. Through yet.
Right, and so we saw that over and over. Kids crying in the audience as they saw John Cena getting taken down. Crazy. And the same person I just referenced to before about the grade of WrestlePalooza, he says this is nothing unbelievable. WWE's own partner, ESPN, graded WrestlePalooza a C, citing it fell short of expectations. And Andreas Hale would also kind of put out in the caption, it was a phenomenal display inside the squared circle. Everything else was either underwhelming, the short Rhodes McIntyre match, or a setup for a future match, Lesnar dominating Cena, for a card that promised to have epic moments and fell a little short of expectations. He's not wrong. Andreas Hale just said the real part out loud. Somebody was just looking in from an objective eye. He's not a fan. He's not a proper fan. He probably is familiar with wrestling and how it's done, but he's probably not like a fan that follows along with its product, especially the way it is now. No. So he did it from an objective sports critic lens on match quality. Nothing about the lead up of the matches, nothing about the lead up to the actual of these stars and what they mean. Because if you're watching on ESPN, you just have to assume you're watching the product. Wherever you have to find it, whether it's over here on Netflix or over here on USA or over here on CW. And prior to ESPN on Peacock or NBC. Like, there's a lot of places you expect that people are going to be watching WWE. So I guess they think the social media is supposed to go ahead and take care of that and cover any confusion or anything to try to get a mainstream crowd interested. Just saying, I don't think they got that all set up. So a lot of people went after Andreas Hale after that. Okay, well, I mean, that's what's going to happen. And this is what the ESPN fan base, this is what ESPN is getting to see, is that this juvenile, delusional, toxic fandom is out here bashing away at what ESPN provided in terms of the product, and that someone from their team would actually go ahead and tarnish and shame their most heralded product. And that's what happened. And people got really pissed off. But the TKO machine continues. We now have the ticket prices now have been set up for WrestleMania 42 coming up in Las Vegas, back to Allegiant Stadium next year. So here's your top tickets right now. Amazing. So on the floor tickets, ringside, $9,000 a seat. You still be on the floor, but your secondary, $3,800 a seat. 100 level seats, we're talking between $1,100 and $1,500 a ticket. Those are 2-day ticket prices, by the way. I'll say that. Okay, 2-day ticket prices. Now, 300 section, 200 section, $1,100 to $1,300. The 300 section, $1,100, and the 400 section, the bleeder seats, $850 for both nights. $400 for the cheap seats. That's not counting how much you have to go and pay when you're in Vegas for itself for WrestleMania, merch, all the other stuff. Like I said, if you're going to go there on the cheap, you're going to spend a few $1,000s. Not one or two, a few $1,000s. That's coming from PW Insider. Another thing that also got people pissed off this week was the PWI 500. So they put out their top 10 for 2025. Cody Rhodes makes the top of the list. Jon Moxley, number 2. Gunther, Hangman Adam Page, Hiroki Goto, Jey Uso, Swerve Strickland, Seth Rollins, Mystico, and Will Ospreay. Yes, you got it. 4 AEW names on the list. And WWE has 4. Yeah. And I'm sure there's some names up on that list that people were not happy to go see up there. Right? No Braun Breaker. And also, it's just the men. I guess there's obviously there's a women's list, but that's where the 500 here on this is. Another person writes, after the WrestlePalooza event, with the recent backlash from WrestlePalooza and ESPN's feedback on the PLE event, the creative team has to do a major overhaul of decisions and really start taking the constructive criticism seriously. this upcoming Raw and SmackDown are the most important episodes of the year, the ones that you're already having right now. But for Raw, prior to the Netflix broadcast, nothing was advertised. Nothing was set. Now, the floor, ringside, second row. Here's the other part. The ringside rows and the tickets for that. I didn't even get that part yet. Andrew Badal puts this out here. Before fees, by the way. Second row, ringside, on the floor. $32,000 a ticket. 2-day combo tickets. $32,000 per ticket. Ringside rows 5 and 6, $11,500 a ticket. Rows 7, 8, and 9 ringside, $9,000 a ticket. 2-day tickets, but $9,000. You know, with those kind of ticket prices, yeah, they're going to go make their money up in no time. And then a couple $100 million, $100 million on Saudi Arabia shows. Yeah, they're going to make some money off of it. Incredible. Another comment from the real voice of the juvenile delusional fandom. I should just say that from now on. Crown Jewel needs to be a make good from how lazy WrestlePalooza was. 6 matches minimum. You want to go 7? I wouldn't complain. He's saying you should have AJ Styles, John Cena, Cedric Vaquer versus Tiffany Stratton, Rhea Ripley and Io Sky versus Asuka and Kairi Sane, Seth versus Cody. I know they can find it in themselves to make the show feel substantial. This show so far looks like a banger show. The entire PLE structure for the main roster is awful and needs a radical change. That's a contradiction right there. So you have those stars right there that can be a banger show, but the PLE structure for the main roster is awful. Okay. So it's not just the stars they want to put in the matches. It's the matches that get put in, which again is all creative. And there are people that are going to defend and run cover for this company as it's going on like this. And by the way, if you want official platinum seats for WrestleMania 42, first row, it's $38,000 for 2-day tickets. Do you understand? That's a new car. That's a reasonably good new car. That's a down payment on a house. I'd love to know who are the people that have the money for this. And a couple of things I should make mention of as well. When you have certain products that are out there that fail and do not do well. How about NXT? Okay, we had WWE that used to have their speed program that was over on X. Exclusively on X. It was a deal they made with them. Well, guess what? When the Speed series got canceled after one season, yeah, NXT is now using Speed for a contenders match tournament to find who goes to No Mercy, the NXT pay-per-view coming up. A couple of things I want to take away from X that I just saw that just continue to give me the pulse of what happened from this counter-programming. Raw September 15th pulled 2.6 million viewers, 5.3 million hours watched over a 2-hour runtime. That's it. So who was just watching that night was just watching that night. 2.6 million viewers. That just means that. They watched the show. Your loyal fan base around the world. That's all you got. Now, remember earlier on when Triple H talked about the interest of people that are wanting to join WWE or come back or say they don't have so much time left in their deal contract, they want to go and come on back or whatever. Okay, let's talk about Jasmine Nix, formerly Jasmine Nix. Real name is Jade Ariana Gentile. Formerly a professional soccer player, or she was a collegiate soccer player, and she was part of that Next in Line program. Announced to the Performance Center's fall 2022 rookie class. Began appearing as a student at Chase University and would befriend fellow student JC Jane. And of course, we know that she then became part of the group that would come after Fatal Attraction, Fatal Influence. So she's been the third person in the group. You've seen her with a mask because she had her nose broken previously. 27 years old, trained at the Performance Center. I mean, you look at her and you say, okay, in the time that she was in here, she was moving along, right? We don't know if she was ever going to make a call up to the main roster, but when you look at her, she looks like $1 million. Like, I mean, if she wanted to go and continue working somewhere else, I could just say, you know what? I mean, I think if she wanted to go back into wrestling, if another company wanted to look at her, she's got bookings she can find wherever she wants. But she's out completely. She was offered a new contract as her current one is expiring, and she's declining what they're offering her. And this is her talking about it after the fact. And let's just play back what she says in her own words.
As you know, there's been things circulating, and I kind of want to just set the record straight that I am not re-signing with WWE. This was a personal decision I had to make for myself and for my future. Personally, the contract that they were offering me for the next 3 years just wasn't going to cut it for me financially, and that's okay. I kind of just wanted to give a backstory of everything. I was playing professional soccer in Iceland, and then I got recruited obviously to WWE, which I left everything out there to come here for this opportunity, which I'm very, very grateful for. I was kind of held back a little in the beginning. I had 4 knee surgeries, so I had to recover and rebuild my knees in order to step in the ring. And as some of you know, I broke my nose. That's why I was wearing the mask. I had other injuries, concussions that kind of held me out of TV for a little bit. We'll say that there's been a lot of opportunities that I've had to turn down and pass up, but now that I am out of the job, I can kind of explore these opportunities more and take them more seriously. Love my Jasmine Nix fans. Thank you guys so much for supporting me and having me.
Now, for her, I mean, as far as I know, I mean, she was featured a lot on NXT. And aside from the fact that she did have injuries back and forth, didn't help much. And now we have in the recent NXT episode, she was found attacked backstage, and Fatal Influence kicked her out of the group. Chasey Jean and Fallon Henley abandoned her. Done. Just kind of thrown out. But this is something that went through the entire run here of Fatal Influence. And the bottom line is that in 3 years, she's not even considering to go and stay and take the rest of the course. She has other things she can do with her life at 27 years old. So great. But she took herself away from professional soccer. So she could work European and, still work in women's soccer and all. And who knows what she could have been doing as well. How good of a soccer player she could be where she could compete for the women's Olympic, the Olympic team or for the World Cup, the Women's World Cup. Who knows? But she put herself into wrestling. Gave it a very good college try. And I think from the training that she got, if she wanted to go into wrestling somewhere else, she could probably still go back to that and find income. And probably get paid more than what she was going to get from NXT. But that dream that was given before to some of these athletes out there doesn't look so good when you see someone like her. Because people are going to ask themselves, like I said, I was like, wait a minute. Why are they giving up on her already? Why are they not trying to hold on to her? That's one thing. But the other thing is, she's not going somewhere else. She's getting out of wrestling altogether. How is it that somebody in 3 years comes into WWE, is given as much time as she is given? They put her out there. And she's no longer interested. I don't think it has anything to do with her that she didn't want to do this. As far as I saw, looked like she put the effort out there. And now she, she's going to do something else with her life. No plan of wrestling. Probably not. Well, I wish her all the best. That's amazing that's going on with her and that she's out. Because I'm asking myself, of the other stars they have down there, why is it that she's not going to make her way up there and do something? I was just saying. if she wasn't there yet, they obviously felt faith in her to go and put her on television as much as they did. And there's an audience that actually were able to follow along with her and what she was doing. She had a great look. She was part of a faction that was recognized in NXT that they gave a lot of time to. I don't know. But it's very interesting, the fact that if you have somebody coming to do WWE, it's the fact is they're not even looking to like say, oh no, let's see if AEW will pick me up. No, nothing like that. That people can come in fresh into the Performance Center and completely like lose interest in wrestling altogether and say, no, there's something else better for me. Wow. When you get the chance to come into wrestling and you dedicate yourself to the craft for 3 years and you're doing something with it, and yeah, the contract was probably being cut. Probably weren't offering as much. Or that for another 3 years to stay at the same kind of pay or something similar. Yeah, why? If she's going to be stuck down at NXT with no chance of her moving to the main roster, no chance of a promotion, then yeah, what is she going to do down there? This company has not been good about bringing new stars up to the main roster. We talked about, a couple of stars they got in the draft, and look what they've done with them. And what about stars that come in that are free agents? What have they done with them? We have examples right now of people that have been here coming back to the company. Andrade, and he's back out again. And I look at Aleister Black, and I look at Rusev, and, when you talk about the stars that came from NXT with, Ricky Saints, and I'm like, he's in the background of that NXT invasion angle they're starting up right now. To think that TNA is now going to go into an invasion angle with NXT, and it's going to probably be showcased at Bound for Glory. Because we already know that something's going to happen at No Mercy, and Bound for Glory is going to come across, and here we go. TNA and NXT are going to go 2001. We're going to go back to Invasion. How good was that angle? I'm glad I missed it. I wasn't even watching the Invasion angle and how bad it was. And I would not fair to guess they're going to do any better. There's no way it's going to be any better. The Invasion angle is not going to work. TNA's not going to benefit from this. By the way, I didn't even talk about the fact that what TNA, and they're leading up to their pay-per-view coming up in a couple of weeks, by the way. It's just, you're right around the corner. Bound for Glory is coming up with a lot of NXT stars on the brand coming into work. We only have 4 matches officially announced. By this point, we would have gotten a whole lot more booked. And we don't know. I mean, listen, Bound for Glory, you would think it would be like a 7, 8, 10 match show. But with WWE involved in NXT, probably not going to be as much. Currently still scheduled for the night, System versus Order 4 in the 10-person intergender hardcore war. That's all TNA stars. Knockouts World Title, Ash by Elegance versus Indy Hartwell. Really? Well, I know Masha Slamovich has got some domestic violence crap going on right now. It looks like she's going to be the next Joey Ryan. She's going to be like, persona non grata. So we're not going to hear from her anymore. So anything with her now is like kind of out of the mix. She's out of storyline. And you think with what we used to have with the Knockouts World Title, okay, with Jordan Grace or Deonna Purrazzo, and I'm saying to myself, now we're at the point where Ash by Elegance and Indy Hartwell is your Knockouts World Title match. That's a bit concerning. I'm surprised by that, honestly. Those are 2 stars that I don't think, if you would have had the Knockouts division without any WWE influence, these 2 stars would not be knockouts, would not be vying for the Knockouts World Title, let alone one of them be champion, one to be a contender or challenger. No. Hardys versus Team 3D for the World Tag Team titles in a tables match. Okay, I'll enjoy that. That'll be fun. Trick Williams, Mike Santana for the TNA World Heavyweight title. And Trick Williams is also, actually was going to defend against Obi Femi. They had that on NXT, only to create a DQ finish. Crap. And Trick Williams could very well come out. Listen, you think Mike Santana is going to win the TNA World Heavyweight title? Do you honestly think they're going to pull that off that night? No. Trick Williams continues. They'll have somebody else ready for him to go and take on soon enough. I don't expect Mike Santana. I'm sorry, I just don't. Mike Santana, I don't see him as World Heavyweight Champion. Has Mike Santana won any belts since he's come into TNA? No. Since he's come into TNA, not Impact Wrestling. I'm talking about as a single star. It's a different story. His singles career in TNA. He joined April of last year. So, again, roughly what? It'll be 18 months he'll have been in the company. Had a feud with the system because he qualified for the TNA World Championship match at Slammiversary. Then dealt with the system heading up to Bound for Glory against Moose. And then he was in the four-way match for the TNA World Heavyweight title at Final Resolution. And lost where Joe Henry would win. Then Santana had a feud with Josh Alexander. Then a feud with Mustafa Ali. Again, no titles here. Keep that in mind. And then you had at Slammiversary another three-way match for the TNA World Heavyweight title with Trick Williams and Joe Henry, and Trick Williams won. So he's had a couple of chances at the world title, nothing. And he's had some feuds. But, I mean, even with Mike Santana, not even going after the X Division title. Not even that part. And then remember, the NXT partnership, Santana, starts in a feud with the No Quarter Catch crew. After that, short little run. After Battleground, he challenges Trick Williams to the TNA World Heavyweight title. They have a title match at NXT. At First Class Interferes. And that's it. This is everything that's been done with him right now in TNA in the last 18 months. And after all this, we're just going to book him the championship. And it's not against Mike Santana's, ability in the ring. I'm not talking about that either. But I said it over and over. What have you done to really get this guy over as a single star? I mean, there's a different booking committee over there. It's not Scott D'Amore. Scott D'Amore probably would have had a different deal with it. But remember, Scott D'Amore was out of all this. And the thing is, even Scott D'Amore, I don't think he had a plan before the TNA change of the branding that was going to say, okay, Santana's going to be heading towards that world title. I didn't know that was going to happen. Because all last year was all about Joe Henry. And then WWE comes in here and they put Trick Williams in the belt. I'm just saying, there's not much more to it. It just feels a bit off-putting. So I haven't talked much about TNA and any of that for a while. Because I already can tell that the NXTification of this whole thing here, there's so much WWE influence here anyway. Of course I'm going to cover Bound for Glory. Of course I'm going to do the pay-per-view. I will do the post-show for it. We'll see how it pans out. But I believe the Invasion is going to go ahead and succumb into Bound for Glory, and it's going to take up a lot of the oxygen out of everything else. Because towards this part of the year, TNA is nothing like it was. Let's not mention the fact of how AAA has changed. Where down the line, the next pay-per-view for them, I could very well see AAA, by the way, now that they're getting the experience of the WWE, okay, let's just put it like this here. The AAA Mega Champion might take on John Cena at one of the last 4 matches for John Cena coming up in his retirement tour. I don't mind that. I actually do like that, as a matter of fact. Believe it or not. And it could be a crown jewel in Perth. I actually like that a lot. Why not? I mean, what else would work? AAA is expected to go ahead and pay the talent the same salaries that NXT stars get. So they're getting paid like developmental talent. Lucha Libre Online's Vice President Michael Morales reported that AAA is expected to match basic NXT salaries to help cover living costs. And Morales noticed that WWE's Spanish office in Mexico already pays strong wages to both all their talent and production staff, and there's significant funding available, and that AAA plans to cover hotel, meals, and other expenses when talent travels to the United States. Now, it's said to be a bump in salary for talent, but the problem is that AAA talent is now restricted on working on indie shows in the U.S. So, yeah, they might get me paid more, but they're also not going to be exclusive to AAA. And that's it. I don't know if that's good or not, but for those that I guess the extra pay doesn't matter. But the extra exposure and going to be set into the bubble of AAA, what it is, under this new WWE regime is set to be seen. I don't know if it works well. Conan keeps saying, oh, it's not going to get changed. Nothing's going to change about the product. Well, we'll leave it at that. We got Crown Jewel Perth coming up in 2 weeks, and the Crown Jewel titles will be defended. Fine. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Come back to another Wrestling Hero podcast, because wrestling needs us.